Kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai, and welcome to Frogs on Friday. Now today we're doing things a little bit differently and we have a special edition. On today's show we'll be looking back at some of the leading industry trends and insights that we've talked about from the first half of 2024 and how they have impacted the talent landscape across Aotearoa.
Now, there's a lot going on in the New Zealand jobs and employment market at the moment, and the one person I always talk to is Peter Cristani from the Frog Recruitment Wellington team. Good afternoon, Peter.
Hello, Mark. How are you?
I'm a little bit overweight and bald, but there's not much I can really do about that. So what I prefer to do is...
You know what I was thinking, Mark? I was thinking of bald, what was it? Bald blokes banter.
Yeah, that's it.
There's a whole lot of other B words we could use as well, but we won't go into that.
A couple of middle-aged bald blokes talking about the jobs market in New Zealand. Well, what's going on in New Zealand? So the unemployment rate came out last week, 4%, a little bit lower than what Shannon predicted in Mahi Media. So how would you describe the jobs market?
Well, there's definitely Wellington's a bit of an aberration at the moment. The rest of the market is reasonably steady from what we can see. Wellington, because of the change of government, has been significantly impacted, and I think that's going to continue for a while. So if you want me to describe sort of like late last year, middle of last year, leading into the election, the contracting temp space did start quieting down quite a bit. Heading into the election, and this is quite normal when there's a possible change in government that's being perceived, the market sort of goes a bit quiet, and that certainly happened. Then leading into when finally the government was formed, and that last week before Christmas, the government chose to enact some laws quite quickly to stop some things happening, like the clean car rebate and other things. And they also had signalled leading up some significant changes in terms of cutting the government sector. So what that's really done is effectively put a lot of recruitment on pause in Wellington. And we're certainly seeing that at the moment. So a lot of the government agencies are trying to work out how they're going to make changes, and there's talks of cuts of 6.5% to 7.5%. So that's really significant. So there's a lot of held vacancies that would normally be in the market at the moment that are on pause. So the agencies are going, well, we're going to stop, and then we're going to evaluate what we're going to do in terms of what do we need to do to meet the savings cuts the government wants. And then there's the change in work streams as well. So what that means is that, say, a government agency might have had 20 different major programs of work, and the government is signalling to them what they're going to continue, what they're going to stop, and what's new. So, and we're still seeking clarity on that. And so that's made a really significant change. The obvious things that have changed are ones where things like Auckland Light Rail, that whole concept and project has been stopped. So those things have happened. So it's quite a challenging market. A lot more candidates in the market in Wellington at the moment. So in that shot before, Shannon talked about more candidates in the market. So it's really important as a candidate to make sure you put your best foot forward in your CV, customise it as much as you can for the role, but don't embellish it. Don't put a whole lot of hyperbole in there because it won't get you anywhere. And try to think of things that will make you stand out amongst other people. So I think we've still got some clarity in the market for the next 4 to 8 weeks until things settle down. And it is going to be a more candidate-rich market than what it has been in the past. So quite challenging in Wellington. I think Auckland and out in the regions is not impacted quite to the same degree.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Even just generally the SEEK statistics, giving them a plug, because I know the numbers off the top of my head. It's 120 responses per ad at the moment, and the standard, the average over all time for Seek since it actually started was 104. So it's 20% higher than normal in terms of the number of responses. And even some sectors which are being hurting, like technology, for example, they're up to something like 250, the number of responses per ad. So we've got a couple of comments coming through on LinkedIn that we can possibly answer those questions. Here's the first one. And that's from Sophia. She says, is now a good time for people to begin the job search, or should they wait?
I would be looking and identify what you really want to do and the value you can add to an employer as well. So I don't think this will be a market where if you're at a certain level and you're looking for a step up, unless there's something you can really demonstrate why someone would take that risk. But I think it's going to be, I'd be patient, but then move quickly. So if you see something, keep looking. If you see something, really apply quickly, but make sure you spend the time on that package that you're going to send to the employer or to the recruiter.
Yeah, there's certainly, I mean, my view on that is that, like, it's not as if there's no jobs out there.
Right.
There's still, it's a competitive marketplace, and applying for a job or searching is not actually taking the job. So I would encourage everybody to keep an eye out there. Here's another one from Scott Bannister who says, do you forecast any particular industries that will boom this year?
I think the medical side, nurses, doctors, that will still keep going. I think technology will pick up again, and particularly outside of Wellington at the moment. It depends where the money is going to go. I think technology, if you're in the right state, there's a lot of talk around AI at the moment, and I think there's a lot of hype about it. So I think that's an area we need to be aware of. Gaming, I think, in New Zealand's $1 billion business, and that's something, if you're into that side of things, to be looking at. So I think they will still continue being strong.
If I put my 2 cents worth in, Scott, it would be technology with cybersecurity, the housing crisis as well, construction, very much going. There are shortages across there, not just in the supply chains, but just inside of actually building the buildings that we need, or the houses that we need as well. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to ask you, Peter, because I'm conscious of time, is there's this term that I've seen thrown around called flexitors. Now, these are people who are going to leave their job because they're not getting the flexibility that they're after, apparently. Have you seen anything like that? Well, let me ask you this question. Have you had anybody come into Frog in Wellington in the last 12 months saying, you know what, I want to work 5 days a week from the office?
Not in the office, or in the office?
Not in the, I want to work 5 days a week in the office. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. Generally not. There's most candidates are open to or would like some flexibility. We've got some candidates that want to work completely remotely, and that is a challenge to find them something, because often clients might have an anchor day. It might be a Wednesday, and they want everyone in the office there. On the other side of it, it depends, because some clients don't have enough desks now because of flexibility. Yeah. If everyone turned up, they wouldn't be able to house everyone, and sort of first in, first served. So, but certainly flexibility would be virtually 99% of our candidates would want some flexibility.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if people are going to leave their jobs if they don't get that. All right, it's been fascinating. Thank you very much, Peter, for joining us on Frogs on Friday. I'm sure we'll see you again with Shannon when she's back in the next little while. But thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I'm thrilled to be joined by Gemma from Trees That Count. Always good to have a positive story. Sometimes it gets a bit negative on particularly my parts. So thank you so much for joining us, Gemma. And for that, I'm sure most people will know about Trees That Count, but can you tell us a little bit about the organisation and how it came about?
Kia ora, Shannon. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a lovely way to finish the week. Yes, so Trees That Count, we are a relatively new charity, so I will forgive those of you who don't know who we are. We came about because of a charity called the Project Crimson Trust, who was set up in 1990 to help protect the Pūtakawa and Rata around Aotearoa, New Zealand, because they were actually at threat of extinction at that time, which is hard to believe now when you look around in summer and, you know, all the coastlines are bordered with beautiful red flowers. But at that time, it was a real serious threat. And the Project Crimson Trust set out what they intended to do, and they achieved it. And so fast forward to 2015-16, they thought, do we still have a place and a purpose? Should we still exist? By that stage, the climate crisis was quickly evolving, and we all understood that it was serious. And so they began a program called Trees That Count, where they enabled New Zealanders, individuals and businesses, to fund or gift native trees, which will be planted around the country in various restoration projects. So that means our core purpose is to connect funding essentially for native tree planting between those who want to be able to plant native trees and those who can actually do it.
Yeah, excellent. Now I had planned I was going to get a lovely background of some beautiful Pūtakawa from down the road from where I live, obviously from the summertime, but it's one of those days, so that did not happen. But yeah, they're just so beautiful over over the summer period. Now, of course, Frog Recruitment has partnered with Trees That Count for a few years now, so we've used it in quite a few different ways throughout our business, and currently for all our candidates who are placed, so whether that's in a temp role or permanent roles, we help them celebrate by planting a tree through Trees That Count on their behalf, as well as through our association with Carbon Invoice as well. So work together with Trees That Count to offset our carbon impact. Now, for those employers who might not know, how exactly does the process work, and how do you help facilitate that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what we have, Trees That Count are connected to this really wide-reaching planting network. So we work with community groups and private planters around Aotearoa, and they have pledged land and labour and time and maintenance plans and have such vision for the different projects that they're working on. And so they apply for trees to Trees That Count, and we assess their application, look at their project, what they're going to do, what they're trying to do. And that can range from anything from planting riparian zones for cleaner waterways, just enhancing biodiversity, which is one of our number one goals, to protecting native species. Some projects have particular kind of nurseries or programs where they're trying to nurture and enhance certain native species, like kiwi, for example, to even planting fire breaks around areas where there's significant fire risk. And so we assess all of these projects. We send people out. We have technical advisors around the country that go and look at the projects. We approve them, and then the funding that's coming in from individuals and businesses around the country goes towards amplifying these projects that already exist. They're already doing the hard mahi. We're just kind of making it bigger and better.
Fantastic, too easy. Now, of course, this week is World Environment Week. How can businesses, I'm sure that there's, I think you're being too modest. I'm sure people know about you already. You're in the airports and everywhere. But maybe the few who heard about it and they're wanting to make an impact and get involved, what are some of the things that they could do, or how can they get in touch with you to make this happen?
So there's a few ways. The most straightforward and easy way is just to visit our website, treesthatcount.co.nz. It's on the screen there. What we know about individuals, businesses, we're all the same. We're short on time. and we're short on resources, and we have our own respective budgets that we can work with. So the beauty of Trees That Count in this way is that you can go to the website, you can choose the amount that you can donate, and you can, within 5 minutes, less than, go through the process and choose where you'd like your trees to be going, and do the thing. You set up an account, you can go in and sign into your dashboard and see where your trees have gone. You can learn about the projects that you're supporting. So I guess there's a lot of really great storytelling opportunities once you have donated or gifted native trees, but it's a really, really quick and easy process. I say gift because another option for you is to gift a native tree on behalf of someone's, and often businesses choose to do that, like Frog Recruitment on behalf of a candidate. It might be colleagues, it might be staff, it might be clients. And that means that your gift recipient would receive a beautiful designed gift certificate and information about where their tree has been planted. So that's a really quick and easy way of just going onto the website and figuring out what works best for you or your business. But sometimes businesses have specific needs or want to set up their donation in a different way. And in that instance, you can always just reach out to one of the team. There is a contact form on the website, or you can email myself or one of the others in the team to have a conversation about how to make it work for you.
Fantastic. And I must say, having been a recipient of a gift as well, it's really cool when it's lovely when you first get the gift, but even better might be, a couple of months down the track or a few weeks, and then you get to see that my tree's been planted and where it's going to go and make a difference. So really cool initiative, and I'm glad to be involved and support you guys.
It's amazing, and it's so cool to see now, having been in existence for a few years and Frog Recruitment has been donating for a few years, you see that number start to really jump up, and you're accumulating a number of trees which are going to have such an impact for now, but for future generations. It's a gift for those candidates, and it's a gift for us all, which sounds very kind of fluffy, but it's true.
Excellent. Didn't sound marketing at all. No. Thank you so much for coming on board, and hopefully we've been able to spread the word a little bit more, but a really cool cause to get involved with and easy to do.
Okay, so I'm joined today by our specialist in HR, Isha. Thanks for joining us, Isha.
No worries. Thank you for having me. It's a very interesting time of the year.
Exactly. Now, a lot of businesses and organisations will be starting the prep work to go into salary reviews for the year ahead. So you've got some tips on how to get that right the first time and avoid any tricky situations.
Definitely. I think salary reviews is a very delicate matter, and you have to try approach it in the best way possible. So as the year is ending, we are getting closer to the annual tradition of salary reviews. So I've got a few tips. The reviews usually involve assessing employee performance and adjusting compensation. And in those meetings, it's also quite great to set expectations for the upcoming year. So you're both on the same page of what your manager expects and what you expect in the upcoming year. Salary reviews provide a chance to demonstrate appreciation for hard work, and it does also foster quite a lot of motivation and morale. They make for a great opportunity to not only retain talent, but also to plan for the year ahead, aligning employee development with company objectives and ideally company development at the end as well. So my tips are, number one, prepare beforehand. So don't go in blind. Before you try to go and conduct a salary review, gather all the relevant data. That may be performance evaluations, market salary benchmarks, and employee feedback. Having this information will help you make informed decisions and provide clear justification of any salary adjustments in case anything does come back. You have a reason as to why you're doing what you're doing. Going in unprepared can also leave the impression that you don't value your employees, and that can be quite difficult in the current market because employee morale and satisfaction is at an all-time high of what candidates look for in the next role. The second tip is have open and transparent communication. So given it's a bit of an uncomfortable conversation to have sometimes, communication is key during salary reviews. Schedule one-on-one meetings with employees. If you have a nice balcony like we do some of ours on balconies, or if you have a nice room, get into a private room and discuss their performance goals and compensation. Be open to their feedback and concerns and clearly explain the rationale behind any salary decisions. Having that transparency builds trust. And I think it's always really great to have someone that is transparent to you so you can understand where they're coming from as well. And number 3, set clear expectations for the future. Now, in addition to addressing the past year, it's really great to use salary reviews to set expectations and goals for the next year. Development plans and opportunities for growth are great topics to include in these meetings, just so you both know what you're looking forward for the year, what you're aiming to achieve together. And this will help employees stay. So employees are more likely to stay and perform well when they have a clear path of what their future within the organization looks like. And in our annual market report that we still are bringing out to everyone, we do cover this about progression being one of the most important things to an employee or candidate this year. So definitely make sure to set some expectations and goals for the year ahead.
Beautiful. Some excellent tips there for employers. What about on the flip side of that? So we're going to see in the polls whether employees are brave enough to ask the question in the first place this year. So we'll see the results there soon. But what do you have? What tips would you have for employees going into those discussions?
I would say do your research. So things like our P2P post, which is a market report, and you can request that online, things like that, or even doing a little seek search for your title, seeing what the banding is, going into that meeting with a clear and realistic benchmark of where you should be sitting. Also look into, this could be a little bit cheeky, but look into your performance for the year. If you've been excelling, that's another selling point of this is what I can do for your company. And go into those meetings. It can be quite a daunting thing to walk into because money, there's cost of living going on at the moment. It's really difficult to just survive. So it can be something you've got quite an emotional tie to, and that's completely understandable. But in that meeting, listen to everything, take the feedback and express your feedback, but also take time to process whatever happens in the meeting as well. Sometimes if it doesn't go to your plan or what you thought would happen, you can start, thinking to make rash decisions and, try to move everything up. But take the time, rethink everything, take a week or two just to simmer over everything you've talked about.
Yeah, beautiful. Some excellent tips there. And you can see really that the 3 tips that you gave for employees can be reversed, and it's all about that prep and looking at evidence-based things to be able to justify a decision or to kind of stake your case for any pay rises as well.
Thanks so much for joining us for our special edition today. I hope you enjoyed looking back over the trends and have some guesses of what's in store for the rest of the year. We'll be back same time next week. Look forward to seeing you then. Ngā mihi nui.